The Las Vegas Raiders are no strangers when it comes to big moves, and they may make a bold decision after the season ends by potentially firing Antonio Pierce after just one full season as the full-time head coach of the team. And one of the names swirling up in the news is former Tennessee Titans coach Mike Vrabel. So let's just break this down. Mike Vrabel, he's a former player himself, a former linebacker, used to play for the New England Patriots, played with Tom Brady, was coached by Bill Belichick, and just overall his coaching style comes from that Bill Belichick coaching tree and the overall Patriots philosophy. And he's someone that definitely has a close relationship to Tom Brady. And Mike Vrabel has a solid track record overall as a head coach in the National Football League. He is a proven, experienced head coach, which is something, let's be honest, we do not currently have with Antonio Pierce. The biggest question mark with him is his experience and whether or not the stage might just be too big for him. It is a big jump going from a linebacker coach to the full-time head coach. But when you're talking about Mike Vrabel, he's a proven leader. He's a defensive-minded, hard-nosed, tough football mind, and someone that players can definitely rally around. To me, he is relatively similar to the style of coach we have in Antonio Pierce, but obviously he has a better resume and he brings more experience to the table as a head coach. In 2021, he led the Tennessee Titans to the #1 overall seed in the AFC with a 12-5 overall record. And in 2021, he was also named the AP Coach of the Year award, which is definitely a testament to his ability to maximize talent. And in 2019, he had a super impressive playoff run with the 9-7 Tennessee Titans, who snuck into the playoffs as a wild card, and they made it all the way to the AFC Championship, where they almost took down the Kansas City Chiefs at Arrowhead Stadium. But overall, in 6 years with the Tennessee Titans, Mike Vrabel had a 54-45 coaching record. And really, anytime you can stay with an organization for 6 years in the highly competitive, ever-changing National Football League, it is definitely something to be respected. And he was fired last offseason by the Titans, and a lot of Titan fans felt like he maybe should have been given another season. But in 2024, he took a break from coaching, and he is currently a consultant for the Cleveland Browns. But many NFL reporters and just the buzz around the league is that he more than likely will be a head coach again in 2025, and that's where the Raiders come up. ESPN's Jeremy Fowler expects former Titans head coach to get a lot of interest in the offseason, and the Las Vegas Raiders could be a team to keep an eye on if that job opens up. And he also did know that the Cowboys also feel like a natural fit, but he just stated that if the job becomes open, Mike Vrabel to the Raiders seems like a logical approach. Now, we already went over the positive takeaways from a coach like Mike Vrabel, but now let's get into some of the cons or some of the red flags that you could maybe point to. And that's the fact that his last 2 seasons as a head coach with Tennessee were not great, and that's ultimately what led him to get fired. He had a 6-11 record in 2023, and he went 7-10 in 2022. And the biggest issue was that in 2022, they started off that season with a very impressive 7-3 record, and then they went on a 7-game losing streak, falling to an overall 7-10 record. So look, talk about a mid-season collapse. So the guy has definitely had success and experience, but National Football League, it's all about what you've done for me lately. And he's coming off of 2 down years with the Tennessee Titans. Also, another thing that you can point to is he doesn't really have a solid track record of drafting and properly developing a young quarterback. And that's going to be huge for the Raiders because we are poised to have the #1 overall pick. And we're just poised in general to draft a young quarterback. So we need to find a coach and a coaching staff in general, an offensive coordinator that can help develop and just bring out the best in our young quarterback, who could hopefully be the future franchise quarterback for us. In 2023, they did draft Will Levis out of Kentucky, but so far he has not panned out in his young career. So this is definitely a tricky situation, and it's just all going to depend on how confident our owner Mark Davis and ultimately how confident Tom Brady is and Antonio Pierce as well. I mean, the Raiders as a franchise, we have just struggled to find stability at the head coaching position for years now. I mean, the Raiders haven't had a coach last more than 3 full seasons since John Gruden's first stint from 1998 to 2001. So it makes it interesting because we haven't had stability, so you can maybe argue you shouldn't fire a head coach so prematurely after just 1 full season as the head coach. But at the same time, if there's anybody that could potentially give us long-term stability to the Las Vegas Raiders, it could be a coach with the pedigree and the overall experience of a Mike Vrabel. He's a no-nonsense experienced leader, and he could be exactly what this team needs. Now, one thing to keep into consideration too is I know a lot of Raiders fans were kind of sick and tired, or maybe I should just say we've had a really bad experience with Patriots-style head coaches, aka Josh McDaniels. But I will say I don't think Mike Vrabel is going to be anywhere close to a Josh McDaniels. He doesn't seem completely brainwashed by that type of mentality like a Josh McDaniels was. I don't expect if Mike Vrabel got hired as the head coach for us to become Patriots West all over again, where we're only hiring former Patriots coaches and players. And quite frankly, I just think it's disrespectful to even compare a Josh McDaniels to a caliber coach like Mike Vrabel. But ultimately, the Raiders' current situation, it's a tough one. I mean, what are the Raiders going to do with Antonio Pierce? I mean, one thing that I thought was interesting was that ESPN's Jeremy Fowler did also state that there has been talk around league circles that it feels like nobody really has a firm grasp on what the Raiders are going to do with Antonio Pierce, what his job security is looking like. Some believe that his days are numbered, and some believe that, due to the quarterback situation, that he hasn't been given a fair shot and that it would be harsh to fire him after only 1 season. So there definitely is a lot of uncertainty with Antonio Pierce in his future. And I just do feel like as time is passing by a little bit more, it does kind of feel like the Raiders ownership is starting to feel a little bit more uncertain about him as the future of the head coach. And if we keep seeing reports like this, I mean, usually where there's smoke, there's fire. There definitely is a possibility he could get fired. Overall, I mean, I like Antonio Pierce. Ideally, I would like to see him get another shot. It would have to be like a make or break type of season. He's going to be put on the hot seat. But at the same time, look, I cannot ignore the red flags that he brings as our head coach. To me, the biggest issue and where I've been doubting him the most as our head coach is just his overall in-game situation decisions and overall management of timeouts, challenges, choosing when to go for it. Just key moments like that has been his biggest downfall as a head coach. Now look, coming into 2024, I think we all kind of knew this and was expecting this, but I was hoping and mostly expecting that he would learn on the job and overall just get better in this aspect. But honestly, I'm not really seeing any improvement in this aspect, and that's a huge concern. I mean, last week he threw the red challenge flag on a Trey Tucker incompletion that was obvious as hell that he didn't get both feet in bounds. You add in the fact that there's been many games where he punts it on a 4th and short situation at midfield when all the analytics show you should be aggressive and go for it. He typically decides to go for field goals when we need touchdowns late in the 4th quarter. And just overall, he's been very conservative as a head coach. And to me, that was not the message he was preaching all off season. To me, that is not the same Antonio Pierce that said all gas, no brakes. So that is my biggest concern with him. Now, you can make the argument that he's not confident in who we have at the quarterback position. I understand that, but still, there's still been a lot of scenarios where he doesn't throw the challenge flag, where he's throwing it when it's obviously not going to get overturned. And that definitely is a concern for me, especially if the Raiders eventually got their way into the playoffs and playing meaningful football like that. You're going against the top head coaches in the National Football League. Big mistakes like that, not using your timeouts effectively, not managing the game correctly could most definitely lose you games in those scenarios. And like I said, my biggest concern is that he's not showing any major progress in that aspect. These mistakes and the overall lack of growth in this aspect as a head coach could very well cost him his job. But we will have to see, as I still think he has not lost the locker room. The players are still fighting for him. And like I said, I would ideally like to give him one more shot, but at the same time, we have to mention the fact that just based off of resume and experience, it's hard not to say that Mike Vrabel isn't an upgrade. You can also add in the fact that Mike Vrabel is no stranger to the AFC in general, and his connection to Tom Brady, it could be a viable option for us. Now, ultimately, final thoughts, Mike Vrabel to the Raiders, I mean, it's definitely an interesting topic. And honestly, I am warming up to the idea if we did end up moving on from Antonio Pierce. Now, I still have some hope that things could work out with Antonio Pierce, but if he gets a second opportunity, it's going to be a do or die situation for him. He's going to have to address the quarterback spot. He's going to have to hire the right offensive coordinator as well. His job will literally depend on it. And of course, I mean, this is all speculation for now, but ultimately, it doesn't really matter what I think of Antonio Pierce or Mike Vrabel. Instead, it's all about what Mark Davis and Tom Brady think of him. But Raider Nation, I definitely want to get your guys' feedback in the comment section down below. What do you think? Is Mike Vrabel the answer for the Raiders, or should Antonio Pierce get one more shot? Let me know in that comment section down below. But with that being said, Raider Nation, that's all for you guys in today's video. Anybody that's new to the channel and you guys love Raider related content just like this, make sure to like, comment, subscribe to the channel. That being said, I will see you guys in the next one.